Hi there, friends. I'm Vasco. I'm part of the team behind the first global Scrum Master Summit. If you're a Scrum Master, the Scrum Master Summit is a place to learn, to share, and to meet new friends. We will have lots of live sessions where you can meet and network with other Scrum Masters from all over the globe. So make sure you check it at bit.ly/SM Summit and the numeral 21. That's bit.ly/SMSUMMIT21. We have 7 amazing keynotes or more, as we are still organizing the conference as I record this, and 8 tracks that feature people like you and thought leaders sharing their insights and knowledge to help you become an awesome Scrum Master. So once again, check it out at bit.ly/SM Summit 21. That's all lowercase, all one word, SM Summit and the numeral 21. I'll see you on the virtual conference floor. All right, now on to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Success Thursday. And this week we have with us Philip Rogers. Hi, Philip. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be here with you.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that our listeners are as excited as I am to hear your answer to the first question of today. We'll talk about success in a minute, but the first question of today is, what's your favorite retrospective format and why?
All right. Yeah, that is a really interesting question. So I'm going to hedge my bets a little bit, and I'm going to pick a retrospective format that technically is more than one. And the reason I say that is it's one that I call pick discussion questions. And so the reason I like this is getting back to what we talked about in a previous episode about time constraints. So oftentimes teams don't have a huge amount of time to have a discussion. And the additional thing that it's important to keep in mind is from team to team to team. So let's say I'm working with 3 teams at the same time. So chances are, what might be best to talk about with one team is likely not going to be identical to team 2 or team 3. And so one of the things I like about the pick discussion questions is, essentially I have some favorites that I tend to come back to. So one, for instance, is if you had to use one word to describe the retrospective that just ended, what would it be, right? So you often get these really interesting answers. Some people are kind of goofy and humorous about it. Some people, pick a word that suggests they're pretty unhappy. But even that one word, gives you some sense for how the discussion is going to go. Once you go a little bit deeper, and then you can have other discussion questions that are probing into some of those things. So maybe if we think about what sorts of discussion questions might be appropriate. So I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to pull up my list here. So another thing I like to have as a discussion question or topic is what some people refer to as appreciative retrospective or appreciative inquiry. In other words, just asking the simple question, what would we like to thank each other for? Because especially if maybe if a team's fairly new, or if maybe they had kind of a tough sprint or iteration, this is often a good way to kind of focus on the positive for a moment and let people kind of get some positive energy in the room. So I tend to come back to that one quite often. Another question or variation on a question I might bring up is the hardest technical challenges that we solved was or were, and have people talk about what those look like. Maybe another one would be the achievement we are most proud of is blank. So those are some of the questions that I tend to come back to. And I'm also going to sneak in futurespectives because first of all, I think that particular notion is underappreciated, underused. And so that also is a way to sort of bring some fresh perspective into the conversation. So it's certainly great to look backward, but I think in a lot of team situations, it's also helpful to have a little bit of a forward-facing conversation so people can air their opinions, grievances, concerns, whatever they might be about something they know is coming up in the not too distant future. So I like to throw that in as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can see why you say that you picked that one, because it can be many, right? Like the question you choose or the questions
Yep,
you choose will transform the retrospective completely.
absolutely.
And of course, you could also use metaphor, right? So
Hmm.
one word to describe this retro is an example of a potential metaphor.
Hmm.
Great stuff. Definitely inspiring stuff to try in our retrospectives. And now we turn, of course, our attention to the definition of success and what it means for us as Scrum Master. So, Philip, tell us, what does success mean for you as a Scrum Master?
Yeah, this is such an important question. So I have a sneaking suspicion that a lot of people might, their first instinct might be to answer with something like throughput or velocity or something, but that is definitely not what I would go to. So in my case, I feel like the most important thing for us to be focusing on is team satisfaction, team happiness. And obviously that's squishy, and so people just might, their first reaction might be to push back a little bit and say, well, you can't really measure that. Well, I would say, yeah, well, you can. So plus there's a lot of ways to do it where it doesn't feel particularly intrusive or painful. So if you want to talk about like a pretty simple technique you can use on more of a daily pulse check, there's the Niko Niko calendar, type of thing. And for anybody who hasn't used that, there's different ways you can do it. If the team's co-located and they have, wall space, you can put something on a whiteboard. If not, no big deal. You can use PowerPoint or Excel or whatever. And basically all it is it's, you have rows and columns. So you have, all the team members' names. And then typically what you'll have is like a smiley face, meh, in between face and a frowny face. And so sometime at an agreed upon cadence, the team just, marks down kind of how they're feeling for the day. If you want to add a little bit of depth to it, you can add like a notes thing. You can also keep it anonymous, right? So there are ways to anonymize it, so you certainly have that option. So that would be sort of the simple daily pulse check, but then you have all sorts of other things you can do as well. So if we get back to retrospectives for a second, there's the safety check. So and this kind of checks for what you might think of as psychological safety. In other words, we're just starting a retrospective. I'm gonna ask some kind of a question which allows me to, as a facilitator, to take the temperature of the people in the room. And so this too is a way to kind of get a feel for how's everybody doing. Do they feel safe in sharing things? And really that safety thing is so critical for healthy teams, right? Because one of the things that scares me the most, if there's complete silence all the time, because you're just wondering, all right, what's going on? And
Especially
then
now that we are remote, that is a real problem.
it really is. Yeah. And then also you have some tools that allow you to get a cross team perspective on this. And so, the Spotify team health check, is certainly a classic case in point, and obviously you can customize that. You don't have to use the same questions or categories that Spotify does. Atlassian has the team health monitor, which is also really great. So these are ways to also collect data. And if you want to do more of a cross section across teams, so if we use that Spotify health check model, let's say, for instance, you do that, I don't know, once a quarter, so whatever the frequency is. Well, what you can do is, if you have like a red, green, yellow, type of format for that, let's say that you do this survey with 10 teams and 5 of them come back saying that, well, CI/CD is a real pain point. They're all red on CI/CD, or they're all red on environments or something like that. Well, then there's something you can take back to management and say, hey, look, we need your help with this, because in a lot of cases, the teams won't necessarily be able to solve that completely on their own. They need some help. And so that's a great opportunity to show, to the team members that, hey, we're listening to you and we're going to take action on this thing that's causing you pain.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like the aspect of the recurring or frequent collection of data about it.
Mm-hmm.
So even if we focus on team satisfaction and team happiness, I think it's important to highlight, and you did through the techniques you shared, that it evolves over time, right? And that we
Mm-hmm.
should always keep an eye on it, because there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen between now and the future, and all of those can potentially affect the team. And if we're not paying attention and deliberately working on it, it might turn sour.
Absolutely. Things can go off the rails really quickly.
That was a great collection of techniques and tools for us to use there. Thank you very much, Philip.
Thank you.
Part of a successful Scrum Master job is to help the product owner. Tomorrow we explore that critical role in Scrum, the product owner role. Tune in to learn about product owner anti-patterns, what you can do to help the product owner, and a real-life example of what a great product owner is and what made it so. Tomorrow on our Friday Product Owner episode. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.